my dad, who's a wonderful guy, but had to be very busy to make ends meet, to look after 3 growing kids. And so there was a family friend who looked after me between the ages of 10 and 14, who routinely sexually abused me when I was a kid. And so it got to a point where I didn't want to tell anyone this was going on. I felt incredibly shameful about it all. I felt that I was trapped in this horrendously toxic relationship where this guy was meant to be looking after me as a kid, and then I was experiencing those kind of things. So I felt like the only thing I could do is lash out and leave home. I literally got on a National Express bus from Littlehampton as a 14-year-old and travelled all the way to London Victoria, and then got on the Underground and ended up at my mum's house. And it all happened very, very quickly. And I thought that getting to London, that will just solve my problems, right? And I still carried this for years. It was 12 years later that I told another human soul. A lot of the reasons behind that were shame, the idea that no one could possibly believe it happens. The guy was a nice guy to everyone. He was well known by the community. He did loads of great things. I'm just a little kid from a council estate. Why would my word kind of stand up against his? So I thought that people wouldn't believe me. I thought that I had such low self-esteem that I probably also thought that no one really cared. It's not really a problem. Like, it's just another thing, another bad thing. And it took me to the point of being in another country, on another continent, in Zambia, with our youth group. My wife and I were leading a group there. And a guy stood up who was I'd seen this guy. He was an incredible father, incredible husband. I'd watched him for a week that we were there. And he just said, I want to tell you my story. My first sexual experience was being raped by 4 men. And then he told us this intense testimony and then sat down. And I felt like in that moment, if that guy can do it, who has a functioning family, an attractive wife, some great kids that love him, a successful business, he was an architect, if he can be so radically honest with what God has done in and through him because of all the stuff he'd experienced, then maybe I could share this with my wife. And so we went back to where we were staying. And I remember it so vividly. We went for a walk and I said, I've got to tell you something. And I think my wife thought I was going to say something like, I'm cheating on you, or I've got 6 other children somewhere else. And when I told her everything about me, I was trying to give her permission to call off, like to walk away. Yeah, because I thought that if she knows this, then she won't want to be with me anymore. I just thought that was the natural repercussion. So I was fully ready at that point for her to walk away. And of course, that's not what she did at all. Of course it wasn't. But it was because of someone else's testimony that gave me the courage to then speak up. And so I told the police, and then I knew going into that I'm going to have to face some demons. I'm going to have to say some things that you never want to say in public. I'm going to have to expose things that you never want to say to strangers. I'm going to have to say things to funny men in wigs and tell them about parts of my life that every part of me wanted to keep it hidden and secret. But through the whole process, I had to work out what it means for Jesus to bring light into darkness. And a passage that I always love is when Jesus is resurrected and he appears to the disciples in the upper room. They have every reason to be completely stressed. Their leader's gone. He's dead. They watched him die. They don't have the academia. They don't have the knowledge that Jesus had. They've got 3 years of experience with Jesus. And so all they've got is a load of stories. They're just like, oh yeah, well, I saw this happen. I was there. But what he says to them is beautiful. Peace I give to you. And in those moments when we feel completely stressed, we feel completely chaotic, our mind's going everywhere, God's greatest gift in that moment is not answers, it's not solutions, it's not self-help breathing methods, it's not, all of those things might be good, but the thing that God gives us is his peace. And his peace, what it feels like in that moment, isn't like, okay, it's going to go away, because I still had to stand in that dock, I still had to give testimony, I still had to face that guy. But it was a peace that is like, I've been there. You know, Jesus has been there. He's felt hurt, he's felt betrayal, he's felt abuse, he's been there, he's been so anxious that he's sweat drops of blood, he's wept at his best friend's graveside, he's felt church hurt on a micro and a macro scale, he's felt all of those things. And so his piece, like, well, if it's good enough for the God of the cosmos in flesh to feel it, then he must be with me in this moment, feeling it again and being willing to feel it again. And so actually, who they're judging in that dock isn't me, it's Jesus. It's Christ in me that's going to be the hope of this situation, not me being a better version of me or me being a more articulate version of me. So a 14-year-old me moving to London was full of shame and guilt and was worried, and I was scared about what this new life was, but I was kind of hopeful that it would just solve the problems. But it didn't at all. It was only when speaking this stuff out, when giving it light, that the darkness was able to flee and find its proper place, right?